Hello and welcome back to another one of my virtual Grand Prix race reviews. My name is Alex does F1 Stuff, and today we will be reviewing the Brazilian Virtual Grand Prix. So today is a Monday, it's 11:44, the day after the virtual Brazilian Grand Prix, and we will get straight on into the review, and we will start with the roster. The driver roster has changed once again, so let's get straight into Mercedes, who have stuck with Stoffel van Dorn and Esteban Gutierrez as well. This is their fourth time in the car. Let's see how they fare. Ferrari have stuck with Charles Leclerc for his third race, aiming also for his third race win in a row, but they've also gone for Enzo Fittipaldi, the current Formula 3 driver and also the grandson to Emerson Fittipaldi, the two-time Formula 1 world champion. Red Bull have stuck with Albon again, and have also brought back Ben Stokes, the cricket man from the few races ago, maybe two, Melbourne, or maybe the first race, can't quite remember. McLaren have stuck with Norris. This will be technically his fourth race he's entered into, but the third race as he didn't do the last one. And they've also gone for Jelly, a content creator, couldn't find his real name. Renault have brought back Christian Lundgaard, their Formula 2 driver, and also Peter Solberg, a rally champion as well. AlphaTauri have gone for something a bit different. There is another cricket man in Stuart Broad, and also a football person I don't know and I don't really want to pronounce that name. Racing Point have stuck with Jimmy Broadbent, the sim racer, and David Schumacher, a Formula 3 driver. This is the son of Ralf Schumacher. Alfa Romeo have stuck with Antonio Giovinazzi, their current Formula 1 driver, and also Juan Manuel Correa, currently in Formula 2. Haas have gone for Pietro Fittipaldi, also the grandson to Emerson Fittipaldi, and Louis Delatraz, their Formula 2 driver, and both are their reserves. And finally, Williams have stuck with Nicholas Latifi and George Russell. So there were a few changes to the driver roster for this weekend, and we did keep some others as well. I'll go over the championships at the end and see what that's done to the official normal championship, and then also the average points as well, but that will be later in the video. So let's begin with qualifying for the virtual Brazilian Grand Prix, and it was astoundingly close. We had Van Dorn on pole 1/1000ths in front of Russell, and still only 200ths in front of Enzo Fittipaldi, and again only half a tenth in front of Christian Lundgaard, and then a tenth back to Alex Albon in fifth. Then next comes Leclerc, Giovinazzi, Latifi, Delatraz, Gutierrez, Fittipaldi, Schumacher, Broadbent, Solberg, Romagnoli, Jelly, Broad, Correa, Stokes, and Norris, who failed to set a time. Unfortunately, Norris again had connection issues. He did do the race, just not qualifying. But as you can see there though, 2 seconds covering the whole field. That's ridiculous. We haven't seen that in Formula 1 for a very long time. And the biggest gap between a driver I can see on that sheet is Jelly being 4/10ths behind Romagnoli, but everyone else is sort of under a tenth between each other. It is ridiculously close. But straight after qualifying, there was the race. Can Leclerc make it 3 races from 3? Chances are most people already know if they're coming to watch this video, but he could not. Alex Albon ended up coming away with a win with Russell in second. Leclerc still managed to get on the podium in front of both the Mercedes of Van Dorn and Gutierrez. Lundgaard, Enzo Fittipaldi, Delatraz, Latifi and Norris rounded off the points-paying positions, with Schumacher, Solberg, Stokes, Correa, Romagnoli, Jelly, Broadbent, Giovinazzi and Fittipaldi rounding off the finishers, with Giovinazzi and Pietro Fittipaldi failing to finish. So Pietro Fittipaldi didn't actually start the race, I don't think, and Giovinazzi crashed out sort of partway through the race. So there we go, that is the rundown of the results for qualifying and the race. I will now scroll through, like I've done for the past 3 reviews, do a little scrolly thing of the lap by lap leaderboard changes as I just talk about what happened throughout the race. So I've got a trusty bit of paper here. I again took a little bit of live notes as I was going through. There are a few things to note at the start. They changed some of the game settings, so I believe there was still no game damage. I can't remember if that was a thing last time, but they have changed the corner cuts, the track limits rules. They are now strict, so we will not see any more of the ridiculous lines that we saw in China, where they just go massively wide or just completely reinvent the Chinese Grand Prix with no track limits. That is now strict, and we saw a lot of penalties being dished out this race. But another big complaint from me, and also a lot of other people that were in the chat as well, the live chat on the YouTube side especially, was the chit-chat bit at the start. There isn't a need for it to there is. The chit-chat bit is good, but it's the fact it ran over the qualifying session. We missed 10 minutes of the qualifying session because they were talking, they did a recap of what happened last week. They spoke about the real-life Brazilian Grand Prix last year. So we don't need to know that, or if we do that 10 minutes before the live stream and then start with the qualifying so we can actually see some of the action and we don't listen to the commentators. It was odd. I don't really like that. I like the commentary, don't get me wrong. The commentary was good with the two presenters in the studio, not Matt and Alex, the commentators, the other two with the Sky Lady, where they were doing a chit chat before qualifying. It just needs to be separate. It shouldn't overlap. I waffled about that far too much. Anyway, I wrote, going through qualifying, still no Lando. What is wrong? That is a big question. Like, what is genuinely wrong with Lando Norris and his setup? And at one point, 1.9 seconds actually covered the whole of the field as well. But some who was on pole, Van Dorn, I think, managed to set a faster lap and stretching that gap to just over 2 seconds instead. There were loads of warnings. Oh, I've actually moved on into the race. Whoops. So the race was how do I describe the race? It was bonkers. The start, there was a fairly big crash. It wasn't huge, but if there was damage, it would have been race ending. Van Dorn had a big off. I think he just swerved, basically like a Vettel in Singapore in 2017. He just swerved to cut off someone, but ended up clipping them and then spun, took loads of people out, basically making way for Albon and Leclerc to get into the lead, where they basically stayed. So Albon now leads, and it was so argy-bargy that there was a lot of tussles. There was so much side-by-side racing. There was a lot of side-by-side racing. It was really, really cool to watch. It was genuinely the best virtual race that there has been. I know there's only been 4 with all these official ones, but it was 100% the best one so far. But something that Albon and Leclerc sneakily did is they helped each other, using each other's DRS to get past on the main straight to pull away from Russell. And at one point they had a 3.5 second lead, 5.7 second lead going into the pit stops over third place man Russell. And that's simply because they were just exchanging DRS. They weren't battling each other, but on the main straight, Albon would get past Leclerc, and then next lap Leclerc would get past Albon, and they both efficiently use each other's DRS to pull away from Russell. But it wasn't until the pit stops that we saw a strategy. There was actually a strategy battle in this race. So Leclerc pitted first and went from the soft to the hard tyres, but Albon ended up staying out, pumping in fast laps in completely clear air. And then he came into the pits and went on to the medium tyres. So he extended his soft tyre stint a little bit longer than Leclerc, and then went on to the medium tyres to hopefully come back at him. And he really didn't lose that much time. When he came out with the pits, he was literally, I think, 2 tenths behind Leclerc. He almost managed to overcut him on the older soft tyres. It was an astonishing first stint from Albon. But unfortunately, though, he couldn't actually get past Leclerc. He was stuck behind the Ferrari man. He could get past, but only for half a lap, and then Leclerc would be back past because he'd just stay within the DRS. So he couldn't fully utilise his medium tyre advantage that he had over the Ferrari. But Leclerc ended up receiving a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. There were so many that were handed out. I did end up losing track. Schumacher got some. Russell got some, I think. Leclerc. Lots and lots of drivers received penalties for the strict corner cutting rules. I can't remember exactly what lap the penalty came in, but it was fairly inevitable. The commentators even said it. That's basically the race done and dusted, because the two at the front still had about 5-ish seconds to Russell in third, but they couldn't pull away from each other. So that basically sealed Leclerc's fate to be P2. However, they did end up battling, and there was a couple bits of contact in the latter half of the race, allowing Russell to catch up to be within 3 seconds of Leclerc. So when his penalty came in, Leclerc fell back to third. I believe at one point Latifi ended up crashing into Giovinazzi, and that's how Giovinazzi retired. It's just said he left the session because there's no damage, so he shouldn't have retired, but he ended up leaving because of the crash. I'm not sure what happened with that one. But they're jostling for the lead. There was an incredible amount. I need to go back through and count it all. I might pop it up on a text thing on the video, how many times exactly they jostled in the lead. If not, it won't be there. Simple as that. But there was so much jostling, it was ridiculous. But that comes with another big criticism from myself, is that they mainly focused on the top two. There was so much battling, as you can see through the rundown that's going ahead. Van Dorn and Gutierrez were swapping and having an equally good battle as Leclerc and Albon at the front. The midfield was changing and chopping all the time, and they just didn't seem to go to it at all. But I think that sums up my review for this virtual Brazilian Grand Prix, and we will get on into the championships now. So here we are looking at the Drivers' Championship, the official way of how F1 would score. I am only keeping track of the point scorers, otherwise my table would consist of about 30 to 40 drivers. So after China, round number 3, we had Leclerc from ahead of Zhao on 50 points, Van Dorn, Russell, Albon, Lundgaard, Eng, Broadbent, Arthur, Leclerc, Latifi, Norris, Giovinazzi, Delatraz, Gutierrez, Alvadori, Lawson, Redeye, Beganovic and Sainz. And then after Brazil, we move to this looking table here. Charles Leclerc maintains his lead, however Van Dorn is now second, 17 points back, with Albon third, Russell fourth, then Zhao, Lundgaard, Gutierrez, Eng, Broadbent, Delatraz, Latifi, Arthur, Leclerc, Norris, Giovinazzi, Alvadori, Lawson, Enzo Fittipaldi, Redeye, Beganovic and Sainz. But obviously it's a bit unfair to be keeping track of the points paying positions in this sort of way, as Charles Leclerc has done 3 races, Van Dorn has done 4, Zhao's only done 2, yet he's down in 5th. So what I've done is created a average points system, and this is what it looks like after China. So there is a races column indicating how many races the drivers have done, and then their average points based on the points currently scored, divided by the races that they have done. Yeah, that does kind of make sense. So round 3 in China we had Leclerc from Zhao, Lundgaard, Eng, Russell, Van Dorn, Arthur Leclerc, Albon, Lawson, Giovinazzi, Delatraz, Norris, Broadbent, Redeye, Latifi, Alvadori, Gutierrez, Beganovic and Sainz. So we move to Brazil to see what effect that has had. Leclerc is still at the top, but he is not on 25 points anymore. 21.7, 1.7 points back from Zhao. Then Albon moves up to 3rd from 8th. Eng falls to 4th, then Russell, Lundgaard, Van Dorn, Arthur Leclerc, Lawson, Enzo Fittipaldi, Giovinazzi, Delatraz, Broadbent, Gutierrez, Redeye, Norris, who I've said has 3 races. Technically it's 4, but last round he didn't compete in the last round, so I felt it was fairer to say that he's done 3, then Latifi, Alvadori, Beganovic and Sainz. So that is the Drivers' Championship, both the official way that F1 would score it, and then also the average to make it a bit more fair. So we will take a look now at the Constructors' Championship. So this is what it looks like after China, with Ferrari leading Renault and Mercedes. And moving away to Brazil now, Ferrari is still at the top, 19 points clear from Renault and 20 clear from Mercedes, with Red Bull leaping Williams, Haas leaping Racing Point, and then AlphaTauri, McLaren and Alfa Romeo all at the bottom. And that is my review officially done for the virtual Brazilian Grand Prix. I hope you guys have all enjoyed that video. I will catch you in the next one, whatever I decide to make. I'll see you then.